Hello, this is Kevin from AMT Software, and in this video I want to talk about working with projects, creating new projects, going into some details about that, opening projects, archiving projects, local versus remote, what those mean, and project-based versus file-based. So let's get started. The Prospector can interface projects two different ways. One is project-based or file-based, and that is controlled in your Power Source user database. So I'm going to start up Insight and take a look at that setting, and I go to the Prospector menu and start up Power Source Insight, and that's going to load by default loads my user database. I'm going to click on Application Settings, and on the right here there's Project-Based Interface, and that's enabled. So I'm in project-based mode. If I disable it, it'll be file-based mode. But right now we're in project-based, and when in project-based, it uses these two settings: the local job directory and the remote job directory. The local job directory is where new projects are created. So when you create a new project, they're stored in this path. When you archive a project, it's archived to the remote job directory. Again, this is only for project base. So the local job directory is set up as this app data path plus Prospector training jobs. Now I'm in training mode. There's another video that goes over going between Prospector training versus production. Right now I'm in training mode, so my local job directory is set to this Prospector training directory jobs, and the remote is also set to the Prospector training jobs are. You'll want to set your remote job directory up to be probably a mounted drive on a server from a server somewhere. But for training purposes, we're going to have them both in the application data path, Prospector training. And where that is in program data, AMT software, Prospector. That's the application data path, app data path. And we're in Prospector training, and jobs are. So that's my local jobs directory, which right now has nothing in it, and my remote job directory, which has projects for some of the other lessons right now. Okay, now let's go back to Prospector, and I'm going to create a new project, and we'll see what goes on behind the scenes here. So the first page of the new project wizard, I have to give it project information. I have to give it a job number and a project name. Now, the job number also has a drop-down list of all the job numbers that are available, both local and remote. So right now I have nothing local, so these are showing me only the remote jobs, but it'll show both. I'm going to create a new job called 100, and I'm going to give it a project name, Cavity, and I'm going to browse for the sample files here, and these are located in that same app data path. I'm going to come down to program data, AMT software, Prospector, Prospector training. This is the 100 series, and here's the projects, and I'm going to pick Cavity. It's a parasol file. I need to specify whether it's inch or metric. Give it a material. Next, I'm going to give it a power source configuration, and then finish. All right, let's go back to Explorer and take a look at what happened here. So in the jobs directory, I now have 100, a directory called 100. And in that directory, I have another directory called Cavity. So you can see that those first two settings on the new project wizard define those two directories. So 100 and cavity. And in there are my project, is all my files associated with that project. Coming back to Prospector, I'm going to create another job. And now, when I look at my list, I see 100 is available because I created it for the cavity. I'm going to do core. Pick core. Same metric. Pick my material. I'll pick my configuration. It's not in machine position. I'm going to pick bottom and finish. Now back out to Explorer, and in the 100 directory I have another one now, another directory called core, which has all the files for that project. Back to Prospector. I'm going to archive this project now. And I come up to the file and say archive project. So that will store the project in the remote job directory. So let's look at the jobs directory, 100. Now I just have the cavity. So it cleans up after itself. It compresses all the files associated with that core job project and gets rid of that directory from the 100 directory, from its job directory. If I look in jobs R now I have 100 core. So it still uses that same structure, the job number and the project name as the two levels. And then there is the PRZ, which is our compressed projects. All right, now let's talk about open. When in project-based, when you say open project, you get our own little open project dialog. This gives you a list of the projects available on local and remote, because that's what I'm showing down here. This drop-down list will allow me to control what jobs appear in this list. I can, by default, Prospector will show both, and you can change that to local only. And you can see I've only got one local, the cavity, and it tells you whether it's local or remote. Lock by I'll get to in a minute, and then you get a little preview of what the project looks like. If I show remote only, I get all my remote jobs, all my remote projects, and again I can click on any of these to update and show me the preview. But in this case I want to retrieve that core, the one that I just archived. So I'm going to select 100 core, and it's remote, and say OK. Now I've got the project. Going back in to Explorer, I see I've got my projects back, my core. Going back into Open, we can see that now it appears both locally and remote. It's local and it's remote, and now I've got this locked by. And what this is it means now that the core was archived and then retrieved. That means I checked that out. It's like checking out a library book. I'm the only one that can work on this project right now. If somebody else on another machine or another user tried to open that remote project, it would give him an error message saying, hey, this is locked by developer one at, it tells you the username and the machine at devtest1. I can get that again, try to open that remote, and it'll give me this warning message, hey, you already have this local project, do you want to overwrite? And I don't. So the important thing there is to remember that is when you open a remote project, it gets locked. And the only way to unlock it is to archive it. And so I'll do that now. I'm going to archive the core. And I want to archive the cavity. So I need to open that project up. Now I can go to open, or another way of opening a project is by going into this recent projects list. And it'll have all the projects. It'll have up to 16 projects, your last 16 projects that you opened. And when you hover the cursor over, it will give you the preview, the same preview that you see in the open dialog. So I'm going to open the cavity, and I'm going to archive that. So now back to Explorer real quick. I can see now my jobs folder is empty. Right? He cleans up after himself. Now that there's no 100 jobs locally, that directory is gone. And if we look at it here, now I have both cavity and core in my remote project directory, remote jobs directory. Okay. If I look back here, one last look, I can see that they're both remote, nothing's local, and nothing's locked. So now anybody can retrieve those from archive. All right, on to file-based. I'm going to go back into Insight, and now I'm going to disable project-based. Come down, hit this arrow, change that to no. Now you want to do this for both inch and metric when you're in Insight. In case you work with both inch and metric parts, you should always change these settings in both inch and metric. Now let's hit save on my user database, and I'm going to come back into Prospector. Now Prospector knows that the database changed and he reloaded those settings. So now I'm going to do pretty much what I did for the project base. I'm going to make some projects and I'll archive them and show you the difference. So now when I say new project, these first two are a little bit different. Now I instead of a job number and a project name, I give it a project name and a location for the project. So I'm going to say cavity, and I'm going to go create a directory here in my users, developer one. I've got a directory here called my jobs, and I'm going to create a folder underneath there called 100. So that's where he's going to create this project, in the 100 folder in my jobs. Now the file base gives you a lot more flexibility. The project base, there's only two levels. You have the job number and the project name. Here I can create directories underneath 100 if I want to create a directory for cavity and have the cavity project in there, and then maybe there's electrodes associated with that cavity. Maybe I can keep them all in there. I can create a directory for plates if I want to put all my plates in one directory. In project-based, each project has to have its own directory. But in file-based, the sky's the limit. All right, so I've got my project name and my directory, where the location of the project. Everything else is now the same. I'm going to create the cavity. I'm going to select the cavity part file. And again, all this is now the same. Create, select the power source configuration, and hit finish. And now Prospector works the same no matter whether you're in project-based or file-based. Creating projects or programs, setups, everything is the same. Yeah, it's just what's behind the scenes on how he stores the files. And again, that's all hidden. You don't have to hit save or anything like that. All right, let's go to Explorer and take a look at what he made here. So we go out to the users, my home directory, my jobs. So that's the folder I specified. I said 100, and then I've got this file called cavity.prj. That's now my project. And I also have a hidden folder that has the rest of the files for that project. All right, I'm going to create another project. This time I'm going to create the core, and I can browse to my jobs, and since the directory's already there, I can just select it. Don't have to create it. I'm going to specify the core and select my material. Again, this is all the same, project-based versus file-based, and finish. All right, let's go out to Explorer and see that now in my directory that I specified, I have the 2 projects in there. All right, let's do the same thing we did last time. We're going to archive the core. Archives it. I come out here. Now I've got core.prz in this my jobs 100, which I specified. Now this there's no locking in file based. There's no he's not putting it in another directory. He's just putting it where that PRJ file, where that project file was. So when he archives it there. And so when I open that, I can when I go into File Open now, I'm presented with a standard Windows file open dialog. So now I can come into my users directory, and I can open. Now I can open either one. I can open local or archived projects, and I have a switch here, or a list here that'll allow me to change what I see here. I just wanted to see my archive projects. It will show me that, and I want to open that. And now I'm back into working with my core that it uncompressed, and now is my local. It's here locally, and it keeps around the archived project still. So now I want to archive both of these. I'm going to archive the core, and that's going to overwrite. That's fine. And again, I can come down into my recent projects, and there are my the last 2 that I worked on. The core and the cavities, got the other ones from the project based. So I want to open that by just clicking on recent projects, and I'm going to archive that. So now back into my jobs 100 directory, I just have those 2 archived projects. Okay. The one thing you don't want to do is mix and match. You want to pick either work in project mode or file mode, file-based or project-based. They don't mix well together. So you want to pick whichever one you prefer. The pros and cons. The file-based has a lot more flexibility and structure, but it's up to you to archive and take care of any kind of checkout, check-in has to be done some other way. Whereas project-based is very structured, but allows you to lock projects. Again, Prospector works the same whether you choose project-based or file-based. And last thing I want to do here is I want to set these back to If you've been doing this, you'll probably want to set this back to enabled. And again, do it for both. And save. Okay, that's it for working with projects. Hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at support@amt-software.com. We'll see you in the next video.